Veronica is the last presentation before the break. So be nice with her. As you see from the title, the presentation might raise a number of questions. So think about it, and when you do ask questions later, make them short and quick, so Veronica can have time to answer all of them. Veronica, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I'm not sure. Yeah?
Le son, c'est bon?
Okay. Okay, so my name is Veronica. I work for the Cognitive Threat Analytics team in Cisco Czech Republic. And I'm going to talk about an analysis of network traffic that of a malware that we run in our lab, that it end up in a brute forcing attack. So if you have questions, you can ask them later, or feel free to ping me later. So okay, so as many of you, I work studying and analyzing network traffic from malware, mostly from different sources. Usually these sources are very small, like blogs, Twitter trackers, every source of intelligence that many of you helped to create. But so these are usually small sources, and then I can apply to detect and identify threats in like large amount of data, like real traffic inside our company and customers and so on. But most of these sources of data are from malware that has been run for mostly from 1 to 5 minutes. That's the usual sandboxing time, for example. And most of the blogs and reports sometimes cover this time, maybe more, 10 minutes, top maybe 1 hour. But usually there is no more intelligence more than 1 hour, maybe some hours, but not so much. So the question is like, what happened next? What the malware does after 1 hour of infection? What the malware does after 1 week of infection? What the malware does when it has been running for a month? Is something changed? Is like worth to run malware more time or not? Maybe it's not. Maybe in just 5 minutes we have everything we need, right? So I was curious about this, so I want to try it. So I ran this malware in our lab. The sandbox environment is very basic. It's nothing complex. It runs VirtualBox. I don't have any anti-virtualization tricks. It's just normal VM. The malware is a Gamaru Andromeda malware. It was categorization is hard. We base our judgment on some VirusTotal results, and also from the traffic. And also Jose is going to talk about tomorrow about Gamaru Andromeda as well. So he also double checked this. So we took this malware, ran it in our lab, and we let it run for a month. And this is how the malware, the infection scenario looks like. So the infection started on May 12th, and we let it run until June 12th. And you can see where the infection started. And the first 10 days, the botnet was alive, the command and control was active. There was some communication, but there was no instruction from the bot master. The bot actually was kind of idle, we call it. So there was nothing happening. But from the bot master point of view, this is a waste of money, because you have some machine infecting, even if it's in a sandboxing environment, it's kind of not giving any profit. So after some time, it seems that something happened, that the behavior changed. The bot was instructed to start downloading new payloads. It attempted, we are going to see later how many it tried to download, and then some of them worked. We can see that at some point it triggered another infection. And from that moment on, the bot was infected like twice. And we have like 2 command controls communicating at the same time. And that new behavior was the brute forcing that I'm going to cover later. But if you can see the graph, the brute forcing behavior lasted only 4 days, and after that, the primary command and control was instructing the bot to start downloading new payloads to change the behavior again. But it seems that, I don't know, something happened. There wasn't nothing interesting in the last end of the capture. So this is how the traffic looks like from the Gamaru command and control. It's a simple HTTP request, post request. You can see there that there is encrypted traffic being sent and received. I didn't reverse the binary, so I'm just focusing on network traffic. So because I from the network perspective, I cannot do anything about this, so I calculated some statistics, characteristics about the traffic. So I took some values about the amount of bytes sent without headers. It's like the pure data transmitted over time in a daily basis. And you can see that the bot contacted actually 3 different servers, but only one was active, and that's the red one that was alive during the 30 days. But there was no difference with the other 2. The amount of data sent by the bot, it was very stable along the infection. It wasn't the same with the received bytes. We can see here that in red there is the active command and control, and the amount of bytes was very small. On the contrary, the blue one, the server was responding, but it was an error code, and it seems like a not crafted error code. It was just normal one, and I think that probably the server was down. And after some days, it stopped trying to contact that server. And in the end of the capture, the bot attempted to contact another command and control server, but while it was replying with 0 bytes. So I think it also wasn't very alive. So this is the activity of how the Gamaru command and control was instructing the bot to download new payloads. And this is very interesting because this is the primary command and control that was leading the infection and was telling the machine how to behave. And you can see that it was very busy, and the second more interesting part is the one that you can see in the middle. That I don't know if you can read the names, but it seems like it's the same file name but version. So maybe somebody was trying new versions of malware and see if they worked or not. But we are going to focus on the 5th one because that's the one that triggered the brute forcing activity. So this file was downloaded from this server. It was a HTTP request like this, like very plain, downloading some .exe. If you're in a network, this is very suspicious. You can have the hash here later. The malware had very simple functionality. It was capable of performing logins to WordPress sites and then communicating with the command and control in different ways, informing whether it was successful or not. So from the traffic point of view, the command and control communication of this malware was HTTP, and there was no encryption, nothing, just plain text. And the communication can be split in 3 different behaviors. The first behavior is where the first request you can see there, where the bot was communicating the status of the brute forcing. So there are some parameters like which gate was used, how many good, bad, unlucky results, and so on. And the second behavior was where the bot was retrieving the files, TXT files containing a list of WordPress sites to brute force later. It was also the answer in plain text, as we are going to see. And the third one was where a special request that happened in very low volume that the bot used to actually report the successful attempts, especially the successful attempts. So This is an example of report status request, and we can see that how this request is linked to the second behavior, because in the answer there is a next file that the bot should retrieve. And this is the file that is retrieved by the bot, and you can see there the list of sites that is just a TXT file with maximum 1,000 sites, ordered alphabetically, and sometimes the files contain just 1,000 sites starting with A, sometimes starting with G, and so on. Here is an example of one of these sites. You can see that it's possible that they are WordPress-based. This one is kind of shady. I'm not sure if it's legit, but anyway. And this is where the bot sends the success data. You can see the request is interesting because it's split, so you are not going to see it quite well if in a proxy log, but it's sending the domain that was successful as part of the post request. So this is the brute forcing activity overview. In the white is the amount of requests per day, HTTP request, and you can see that only the first 4 days where the brute forcing was active, and the red one is where it was how many files were retrieved, and you can see that it's above 100 per day, mostly. And there were also some success data requests, which is quite interesting because it seems that it worked, right? So the horizontal brute forcing, I say it's horizontal brute forcing because it's not that the bot was attempting to access a website, trying 1,000 different user password combinations per each site. It was attempting just 1 or 2 combinations per site and trying many sites at the same time. So I had all the pickup, so I could see what user password combinations it tried. And more than 50% of the cases, it tried admin. I guess it was hard-coded in the binary because the bot didn't retrieve any password list from anywhere. The other combination was admin and some custom password. And this is interesting because the bot had the functionality to somehow craft the domain, the possible potential password for that site based on the name of the domain that was attempting to log in. So if you have, for example, google.com, it will try admin Google. And yeah, it worked. So in total, there were more than 86,000 custom passwords attempted. You can see here some examples. There are some Slavic words that are interesting, some Polish cities, and some. Typically, these custom passwords are associated with domain names, so it makes sense. Okay, so how aggressive it was. So every day there were more than 40,000 sites that the bot attempted to log in, and that's a lot. And in total, you can see that it was very aggressive for a very short period of time, and that's it. So it was very interesting to see. And so in total, one bot alone tried to log in into more than 150,000 WordPress sites with only 23 success cases. So the ratio of successfulness is also interesting to have in mind for this type of automated work that the bot was doing. This is an example of a website that was actually the bot was able to log in. And you can see that it's a Brazilian blog. There is nothing seemingly wrong with it. And if you, I don't know if you can read, but VirusTotal have a report on that IPs with some malicious hits on August. That's a couple of months later, since my bot was able to log into this site. So you can guess the economic cycle here. Like we have a bot that is just attempting to massively log into sites, then you can sell them, and then other people install malware, and then you can send a phishing email to get more users infected. I'm not sure about how much access to this type of sites costs, but you can make the count how profitable this can be. Choose One Bot was, in my point of view, it was kind of very successful, getting 6 new sites for free every day. If you have like 100 bots, 1,000 bots, that's a lot. And there is a lot of botnets, like for example CryptoWall, that when you analyze their command and control traffic, they are all using WordPress hacked sites to communicate with, to host their command and controls momentarily, and then they just move on to another server. So the question of how do they get this type of sites, this might be an answer, right? In the end, I did an analysis of how these targeted sites were distributed, because I was just worried if this was a targeted attack, and so I was part of the source of that attack, so I was kind of concerned. But as you can see, there was no special distribution of targets. All the WordPress sites were kind of well distributed among the world, and there is of course a high amount of sites in US, but I guess that's okay. So there wasn't any special. This is not a targeted attack, so it's cool. So my conclusions were that we would have never seen this type of malware behavior ever, even this type of payload being dropped, if we run the malware choose 1 hour. So it's kind of worth, not for all the malware of course, but maybe some samples it is worth. Also, it's important to execute the malware in with real internet access. Many sandboxing solutions don't do that, and it's not really possible to see what the malware really does if you are emulating it. Also, sometimes there are reports saying this malware is just behaving this way, Gamaru is just information stealer. Yeah, we cannot define a botnet anymore by a single behavior. They can update themselves like very fast. So, all the brute forcing actually worked, because we are still having credentials with admin Google, admin my site. So all the work we are doing in education, I think still is not enough. So we should work more than that. If you have questions, we have some minutes.
So we have some time for a few questions. In the middle. Okay. Introduce yourself, Thibaut.
Okay, my name is Thibaut. I work for the Strategy with Thomas. You may know him. I was asking, did you make any statistics about the websites that were attacked by these botnets? You talk about WordPress. You saw a lot of it?
It was specifically WordPress.
Okay.
It seems that the malware has like some kind of hard-coded the way how to create the post request. And
okay, so the WP login, .php, etc. was before saying. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any kind of website beyond WordPress, to all purpose, always WordPress without any kind of website. It can be just a blog or something, or a corporate website.
Yeah, it wasn't any. Yeah, all the targets were of people creating WordPress sites, but hosted on their own domains. There wasn't any domain something.wordpress.com. It was just, it seems that people buy that kind of sites and they create their own blog or site.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On the right here.
When did you analyze the sample? When did you receive it, roughly?
I found the malware around April, and I started the infection on May, and for a month. So.
Okay, yeah, I just found like early samples all the way from back to May 5th, listed on malware.com. So yeah, it was interesting that it was very close.
Yeah, well, I didn't submit it there, so maybe somebody else was trying to check it out. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but thanks.
Yeah.
Andromeda is a plugin based.
Yeah, it's
So
modular.
did you see the plugin download, and did you see anything else, or just that?
Well, in this case, I should analyze this brute forcing one, but you can see how it was downloading different type of files. And Jose is going to talk about plugins tomorrow, but I believe that many of them might be some updates to the botnet. But I didn't took a look at the binaries yet.
Okay. Other questions? One in the middle. Dennis.
Hi.
Hi.
Working, not work. My name is Dennis from IBM. The question is, malware was running on your system for about a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during this month, you or Cisco were contacted by any law enforcement agency, someone to say, you know, you're brute forcing our servers, please stop it.
Well, no.
Thank you.
The short answer is no. But actually, from a detection point of view, it's not that it wasn't a vertical brute forcing that someone could notice, right? Because if you are monitoring the WordPress server where at least 1 or 10 WordPress sites were hosted, you will see only 10 requests of login.
No,
That's
at least, you know, at least a local ISP that Cisco connected at the Czech Republic can ask you a question, but since no, thank you.
Last question.
Hi, I'm Rodelio from Microsoft. I got 2 questions. One, so you're kind of related to what you asked. So we're running the malware for 1 month. Is it a supervised or unsupervised running? Wherein, like, you know, how do you supervise? I'm thinking of, let's say, Gamaru doing some other payload. Let's say, with the email account that you have in your VM, they might send other malwares and stuff. Something malicious activity that you cannot control. How do you, control that? How do you monitor that?
I actually, these long-term malware capture experiments were kind of unsupervised. I just infected and try not to even open the machine or use it. So it was kind of let's see. I was of course checking the network traffic to every day to check that this kind of was under control, kind of. But I only have blocked some spam because I'm not interested in that type of traffic, but the rest it was kind of completely unsupervised.
Got one more.
Yeah.
So you're tracking this malware, and are you guys taking note of the server where this successful brute force was reported? I'm thinking of, like, if you have a list of server where the malware report this successful attacks.
Well, we have the command and control servers, and for the WordPress that were successfully attacked, we are trying to contact them before publishing any more information.
Because I think it might be interesting to correlate it to the malware that distributed via WordPress. I wonder if you could share that report servers.
Yeah, I think so. We might talk later.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're breaking the break. Okay, last question here.
Hi. What is cognitive security research?
We are very short. We are a group inside Cisco that we work doing anomaly detection in network traffic doing machine learning.
Thank you.
Yeah.